the 419 with Gretchen DeBacker, Matt Killam, and Kevin Mullen.
Welcome into the 419, powered by WGTE and presented by Witro Wealth Management. I'm Kevin Mullen.
Gretchen DeBacker.
Matt Killam.
There was another growl there.
See, I like to do it.
Tony the Tiger.
Just like to surprise you.
Yeah, I love it. We got mystery guest edition of the 419.
Who is it?
That's not how we play this game. It is my mystery guest.
Okay.
So I think that's an important clarification that on these days, I have to remind Matt that it's not his responsibility.
Matt really can relax.
I'm immediately relieved.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So my mystery guest, you want clues now?
Yes, we want clues.
Okay. They are a vice president.
Oh, boy. Why does he bring such heavy hitters in here?
They are a director.
Okay.
They are a heavy hitter. That is, I think that's a fair term for this person.
Are they a boxer?
No. They played college baseball.
Okay.
At the D1 level, they have a 1,000 batting average. The perfect.
Oh, all right.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's as good as it gets.
Okay.
They're not from Toledo. They are originally from Shorewood, Wisconsin.
Oh, well, now I know who it is. No, I don't.
I was like, I'm just going to wait for this. But yeah, so this is, again, someone
Do
that...
we know this person?
You do not.
You're sure of that?
Pretty
Does
confident.
Matt know them?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And I've spent a lot of time in Sherwood, Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's right.
As
I mean,
you
I'll
do.
recognize the face.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This person has not been in Shorewood, Wisconsin for a while.
Yeah.
But
What
they
are
have
they-
been quite a few different stops.
What are they the VP of? Just give us a clue. There.
That's too much.
That would, I mean, if I give you the title, that'll give it away.
Gretchen, what is your favorite Sherwood, Wisconsin ice cream?
Cheese curd flavor?
Okay, you're an idiot. I was hoping for the name of a made-up name for a place. But you're joking.
Yeah.
It landed.
Yeah, sure.
A crash landing is still technically
I wish we
there.
had a big
Landing.
day countdown here.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I think I've told you guys my college roommate was a pilot, and he said that there's like.
No, he didn't. It's one of these
talking about
random
this?
I didn't know you
things.
went to college.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah.
But he said there's 3 different kinds of landings.
Okay.
There's a bad landing. We know what that is.
Yeah.
There's a good landing and a great landing.
Oh.
And the difference between good and great, right? A good landing,
How many people died?
everybody survives. A great landing, you can use the plane again. And
Yeah.
I was like, I don't ever want to be in a plane with you.
Interesting.
But I did fly with him a few times. It was great.
That's a high bar.
Yeah.
That's right.
Everyone
That's right.
surviving is a
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Seems like a minimum requirement.
I think that is everyone surviving. It would certainly be a minimum requirement for my mystery guest as well.
Okay. Is this person a pilot as well? Is this your college roommate? Is that who's coming out?
Oh man, that would be great.
Yeah.
Ryan.
You can just say it.
Ryan would be fun.
Yeah.
It's
All
not
right.
Ryan.
Oh, darn it.
No. But no. You're gonna have to find out.
Okay. I'm excited.
Yeah, they might be. They might be one of the biggest event planners in Northwest Ohio.
You said baseball, right? Not softball?
I said baseball.
Okay. All
Yep.
right.
Meaning that it's a man.
That's why I asked. Yeah.
That's not what that means. There are women that play baseball.
Not
Not in
Division I.
college, Division I.
I do appreciate what you're
Ever
saying.
heard of sexism?
Yeah. No. Okay. Let's get well, this is not that show.
It's not that show. All right, let's go. Did you say it's new to me?
Yeah, I've never heard of it
hilarious.
before.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna take a break. When we come back,
All right.
we will meet my mystery guest.
I'm intrigued.
I am too. And I saw their car, so now I'm trying to figure out who would have driven that car.
His car or her car?
The car.
The car.
Yeah.
All right. We'll take a break. We'll be right back on the 419, powered by WGTE.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at witroadvisors.com.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.
Welcome back into the 419, powered by WGTE. It's my mystery guest. I gave some clues. I said this person is a vice president.
Mm-hmm.
They are a director. They are a former baseball player. from Wisconsin, not originally from Toledo, obviously. In fact, they've only been here a little over a month. My mystery guest is the Vice President and Director of Athletics at the University of Toledo, Tom Moreland.
Thanks for having me on.
To
Thanks,
Toledo
guys.
and to the show.
It was a little bit of a suck up.
$1,000%.
Wearing the jacket. He does wear rocket skier.
Oh, we should have known.
But bright yellow. What a brown noser.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Hang on one.
I wouldn't call that a brown noser, by the way. It's good looking gear.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
One
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
Hang on 1 second. Matt Killam is going to call me out for wearing a brand that employs me.
Right.
I just want to make sure we're clear here.
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, okay.
Take it back.
I'm
Take it
hearing
back.
it now.
You see what I'm
hearing
talking
it
about?
now.
Matt has never not worn at least 2 pieces of branded
For
Metro
6
Parks
months.
gear.
For 6 months.
I actually just own this one shirt.
Okay.
So that is, and
Gets a
you can
lot of
probably
use.
tell sitting close to
Gets
me.
a lot of use out
that's
of it,
right.
yeah.
That's right.
Tom, welcome to Toledo.
Thank you.
Yeah, no
Thank
kidding.
you.
How has it been so far?
Awesome. It's a great community. We have great people, coaches, staff, student athletes. I think when you have an opportunity like this at this university, you always think about people first. And so really starts with our board, just really engaged. Mike Miller being the board chair, cares deeply about the university, the community, and then certainly our president, Dr. Holloway. A really long and established career, knows the footprint of this area of the country incredibly well, has spent some time outside of it and come back to it. And so just the list goes on and on. So professional reasons, just couldn't be more excited, but then also on a personal level, just got the keys to our house about 2 days ago.
Nice.
Family's trailing behind a little bit, but that's worked out for
Right.
us. And so just couldn't be more excited.
How do you even begin to start to learn all the people that you have, their names and the people that you have to know in your department, in the university, and in the city? Do you do flashcards? Are you constantly taking notes? How do you start to learn and meet all these new people?
Yeah, it's a great question. Probably been doing it my whole career. It's my first time as an athletics director, but at the University of Illinois, I was the chief commercial officer. I had the opportunity there. We had probably about 100, 125 staff in kind of my unit, right? And it's a similar size staff here at UT. I was the chief revenue officer at Purdue, similar responsibilities as U of I, and then I worked at Iowa in fundraising. And I think in all those different stops, it's always about just connection and relationships. And so flashcards, great idea. Haven't done that, but I think probably in my whole career, it's always just about connecting with our fans, our donors, our alumni in the community. And so it's probably just a strength. I've also just been doing it so long as well.
Yeah.
I'm interested in your impression of Toledo, both as a university and as a city, before you came for your interview. And then what did you learn when you got here?
Yeah. We'll go before, lifelong Midwesterner. So grew up in Wisconsin, lived in Iowa, Indiana, Illinois, and so now Ohio, right naturally making my tour.
Right.
My wife.
The opposite of manifest destiny.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
Just
so
only hope to get to West Virginia at some point.
I don't know if that's on the list. I'm sure it's a great community. I just
We
never
don't have a lot of viewers.
Yeah,
So say whatever you want.
It's a great athletics department there at West
Yes, it
Virginia and a great AD. My wife grew up in Minnesota, so we're kind of like lifelong Midwesterners. And so I think being lifelong Midwesterners have a lot of respect for Toledo, right? Think a lot of great things about it. And so that was before moving here. Now being here for, call it 5 or 6 weeks, those expectations have been far exceeded. There's so many things to do here. There's great schools, the metro parks. Before coming here, everybody's like, hey, you got to see the metro parks. I'm like, okay, I kind of get it. And then I see them.
Yeah.
They are remarkable.
Yeah.
They are world class. And so
This guy's great. Thanks for
put them on there, right?
Yeah.
Have him on
We're gonna do it
anytime you
tomorrow.
want.
Right.
But they really are.
Yeah.
They're incredible. So that's really on the community side. But for the athletics department, the university, we have an incredible tradition here, right? Have competed at a really high level, highest degree of integrity. And so thought a lot of it before coming here, and now being here 6 weeks, just like on the personal side, our expectations have absolutely been exceeded.
I'm curious about fit as well. I mean, there's an ascension, obviously, from a career standpoint, as you continue to go to larger universities or larger conferences, but it also has to fit you, right, and your family. Talk to me a little about the duality to that. Maybe you already hinted on it as a Midwesterner, but you've got to bring your family here. So when we've had other individuals on that hunt around or are recruited for positions in this very high level, but when the offers come in, what does the process of even considering an interview look like at home?
Yeah.
Like, how do you talk to your wife? Do you go around the table?
Oh, yeah.
Talk to me about what that looks. I mean, on a molecular level, you are a human being just like the rest of the people at this table, but you have to oversee a giant ship, and theoretically, you're always looking for a larger ship. But that can't always be true based on how old your kids are, or having enough time with your family, which is probably laughable with the career that you're on. But talk to me about that conversation. It's always flattering to be asked or to have someone flirting with a big job, but you want to be a dad and a husband. So can you talk to me a little bit about that duality?
Even in your question, you're kind of making a good statement with it too. So I remember very early in my career, the athletic director at the University of Iowa gave me so much time. And frankly, looking back on it, more time than he probably should have. And so when I think about careers, I will always work with our staff on those types of things. And we would grab coffee about once a month. And so to keep the story short, what Gary Barta told me was, he said, Tom, you need to put a list together with your wife on the types of places that you would want to go. And you said it, because when people reach out to you, it's very flattering.
I would imagine.
For any profession.
Yes.
It just is, and you're excited about it. And so we've always had that. So that's really step one. And then it's the community. And then again, I'll go back to the people.
Yeah.
We have an awesome president here. He's got a great strategic plan. He connects well with people. He loves all of our students. He loves college athletics.
We've worked with him on a number of occasions, even in a short tenure, we being the Metro Parks. And it's a toss-up to say he's cerebral. I mean, he's a brilliant guy. But he is also extremely approachable, and he will sit back and then speak, and he has a common sense, practical commentary on whatever the scenario we're talking about is. But and again, this isn't a platitude. The way that he's able to frame things is pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's an exceptionally smart guy. And again, those things don't necessarily come hand in hand one another. So I'm not surprised that you found him to be the same way.
I think he also doesn't take himself too seriously.
Yeah.
Which with as smart as he is a refreshing. I mean, I
listener.
remember homecoming
And he's a
last
listener.
year. I mean, he wore a hat that may have been the size of Texas. I mean, it was literally in the back of a convertible with a giant foam cowboy hat.
Yeah.
But you talked about people. You mentioned that a couple times already. When you decide to pull the trigger, that's a big change, no matter what. Although you've done it a couple times. When you get in and the family isn't here yet, but what is sort of step one of unpacking the brown box that is your office?
Yeah.
What do you have a process in assimilating yourself?
I think what's really important is when you come into opportunities like these that have strong traditions and history, you have to learn that first. I think sometimes leaders come in, hey, here are the 20 things that I want to do.
Yeah.
That's a mistake. And so when I've had media interviews or speaking engagements, people are like, hey, what's your plan? What are you going to do? I'm like, well, let's just take a step back. I'm going to give us about 60 days, and then after about 90 or 100 days, we're going to establish a core set of strategic priorities that we're going to execute on. I think where leaders misstep is they're trying to win headlines and do things, winning the press conference.
Yeah.
My press conference was awesome. I loved it. I'll be forever grateful to everybody involved. But it lasted 1 hour.
Yeah.
Right? And now you got to execute.
Right.
And so been doing this for about 35, 40 days, understanding people, building trust. There's probably a couple initial key priorities. We'll establish a few more throughout the summer, and then we're going to go. And we're going to execute on them. And you talked about fit earlier. I think that fits the Toledo community. I think that fits Northwest Ohio. This is a community of substance. But with our strong tradition and history as well, we just need to keep the momentum and pushing forward. Usually these opportunities become available because it's not going well.
Sure.
And I share that with all of our head coaches and staff. That is not the case here.
Right.
And that is not lost on me. So we just need to keep moving.
I want to talk about kind of your career history to
Yeah.
bring you to this point, to have you ready for it. But maybe the right place for us to start is really like, what is the role of the athletic director? Like,
Yeah.
What does that actually entail in 2026?
Yeah, great question. At its core, it's about putting people in a position to be successful, about supporting our coaches, supporting our student athletes, supporting our staff. But a key piece of that is the relationships we have on campus with our president's cabinet, the relationships we have with our donors, our fans, our corporate partners, and our alumni. But at the center of everything that we do is always our student athletes. College athletics is changing quickly. But what I say a lot is during moments of change, there's moments of opportunity. And so every decision we make has to be with our student athletes at the center of it. And so supporting our head coaches, when our head coaches see the opportunity to compete for a MAC championship on a regular basis, to compete in the postseason, I think that's when they're at their best. And so when they have that path to do those things, I think they operate at a really high level. And the same for our student athletes. They're really competitive. They've made sacrifices and commitments, for a lot of them from probably 8 or 9 years old, going to 18, practices, travel, training. It's a family commitment for their parents as well. And supporting our student athletes athletically, academically, and socially. And I think student athletes want to be at a place like University of Toledo because we have transformational relationships. We're really investing in them, have a connection with them. If all an athletic department or coach cares about the student athletes, how you perform, I think you can do a nice job. You're not going to be great because that's really just a transactional relationship. And then for our staff members, one of our goals will probably be to be one of the best athletics departments to work at and live at. And I think we can do that here in Toledo. Sure, there's bigger ones. Bigger doesn't always mean better. You could have an hour commute each way, maybe not afford a home. Schools might be really challenging. When you think about this community, and sometimes when people live here a while, you take that for granted.
Sure.
I'm here to tell you, I don't.
Yeah.
And I've lived in great communities, and I don't take those for granted. Right. But I have friends across the country where, they're leaving for work right now, right? And they might get there in an hour.
Right.
And then trying to drop off their kids and go see a kid's baseball game, that's pretty challenging stuff. And so it's really about focusing on our coaches, our student athletes, and staff.
So much of the position is also about fundraising, and we're in an NIL world now, and a way to try to support the athletes. You've had these prior fundraising positions at other universities. It seems like you're in a unique position to mesh those two skills as part of the directorship here.
Yeah, absolutely. What I learned from a mentor early in my career is a vision without resources is irrelevant. And so connecting with our donors, our fans, our alumni, our corporate partners on why they should invest in UT athletics, invest in our student athletes, and really showing them the impact. I think sometimes people misunderstand fundraising. Like, hey, you're schmoozing with people or twisting somebody's arm. I've never done that in my entire career. You really build a relationship on a personal level and see how they want to support the program. And everybody's different. Some people it's coming to one game a year. Some people it's season tickets. Some people it's joining the Rocket Fund. Some people it's a really significant gift or corporate partnership. But what separates us here at UT is we have a great market here. And so if everybody can just do their part that they're able to do, we're the premier program in this conference.
We're talking with Tom Moreland, the Vice President, Director of Athletics at the University of Toledo, my mystery guest here on a mystery guest edition of the 419. How many, you talked about employees and student athletes and coaches. Give me some of the numbers of the department. How many employees, how many coaches, and how many student athletes?
Yeah, that's a good
35
question.
35 days in, no
Yeah,
pressure.
I was going to say, day 40. Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Very round numbers. So you're looking at about 150 staff members, right? So about 150 full-time staff members. And then you also have your game day part-time staffs. And so that's usually several hundred as well. We have 17 sports here at the University of Toledo. I think that's a really good mix. Of those 17 sports, just under 400 student athletes. And then so the amount of head coaches for those 17 sports. Where there's some crossover, you look at our track and field and cross country program, that has one head coach and then assistant coaches for that. But what's unique here, and again, why I think it's special, we have coaches that have been here for 30 years. A head coach for 30 years. That's really unique. Then you have someone like Mike Jacobs, who's certainly been a head coach other places. He's won at an unbelievably high level.
Yes.
Couldn't be more excited about Mike. But Mike's going on, month 6 here,
Yeah.
right? So we're the 2 new guys in town. But then you look at Todd Kowalczyk in men's basketball. Todd's going on year 17. Ginny's been here for a few years. So there's just that really good mix, which I think is important, because when you're a head coach and it's really competitive, it can get a little lonely, right? And they have families, and you can only bring so much home, because it's not like you're going to call the other head coaches in the league and ask about, strategy and advice, because that's your competitor.
I tell you, it is lonely for me on this show being the only person having talent. It's a lonely morning every morning here. So thank you for seeing me. And there
Matt,
is
you want to toss to the break here? You want to handle that?
that was a disaster. The one day I had to do that.
Listen, let's take a break real
Yeah,
quick.
sure.
When we come back, I do want to kind of jump into the past a little bit, talk
Yeah, me
about
too.
your early athletics career and coaches who made a difference in your life, and then we'll talk about. I know you don't have a real solid, checklist of things I want to get done at Toledo, but let's talk about the vision.
Let's do it.
The goals that you have for Toledo athletics. We'll take a break. We'll be right back on the 419.
To me, community means connecting to others.
I'm Donnie Miller, and welcome to The Point.
I love PBS Kids!
We're a community committed to education. Discover new ideas, dive into exciting subjects, and engage with the world around you.
I would send them personally a t-shirt. Crime doesn't pay in the old West End, pass it on. That's how we cleaned up the neighborhood.
Vision loss for people is not the end.
It's a story, it's the next chapter.
WGTE Public Media invites you to Get Out and Play Day.
The 419 at 7 a.m. on YouTube, 3 p.m. on FM 91, and 6 p.m. on WGTE Connects. It's the 419, powered by WGTE.
WGTE, where you come to watch, listen, and learn.
Welcome back into the 419, powered by WGTE Mystery Guest Edition. We're talking with Tom Moreland, the Vice President Director of Athletics at the University of Toledo.
Yeah, we were closing a break, but I want to reframe the question. As a little guy, professional athlete was the dream, probably.
Probably.
But walk us into the letterhead on your door today. You grew up in Wisconsin.
Yep.
Baseball was the tried and true number one thing, or were you a multi-sport athlete?
Good question. So I grew up about 3 blocks from University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee.
Yeah.
My grandfather was the head men's basketball coach there, kind of years before I was born. But
Yeah, a fine tradition of basketball.
Yeah, really good tradition.
Absolutely.
And so I've been around college athletics like truly my entire life.
Okay.
And so grew up 3 blocks from the arena. Both my parents were lifelong school teachers, so higher education, sports was like always a thing in the Moreland house. And so I've told people probably from 8 years old to 17 years old, I went to more college basketball games than probably like any other teenager in the country, because I would just go to all of them.
Right.
Rarely ask me for a ticket, right?
Yeah.
Because they all know who I was.
Yeah.
And so the joke I tell people for my background, talking about my playing career, there was 4 catchers when I was at the University of Iowa.
Okay.
1 got drafted by the New York Yankees.
Okay.
1 got drafted by the White Sox. 1 got drafted by the Oakland A's. One of them's the AD at the University of Toledo.
Yeah.
So I knew early.
You won that battle.
Yeah, you're
I think
the
it worked
successful
out.
one.
Yeah,
Right.
Sure.
I just knew, probably 45 minutes in that first practice, I was like, these guys are pretty good. I got my work cut out for me, but I had a tremendous student-athlete experience.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience athletically. I remember the first time from Olympic development, I was like, oh, these guys are going to do it.
Yeah, they're pretty talented.
I was like, maybe I'll just start straightening up their bags.
Yeah.
But you talked about your folks and grandparents. It isn't, although it does sound like the die was a little bit cast for you, there are a lot of things that make up someone of your talent. Those are my words. You're a very humble guy. But talk to me a little bit about your upbringing and those people that sort of cast the DNA that makes you effective in this capacity.
Yeah, great question. Being from Milwaukee, and I think that's similar to Toledo in a lot of ways, hard work.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Hard work is everything. Grit, being a good teammate. And so, growing up in Milwaukee, going to the University of Iowa, having that type of student-athlete experience where I was on the team and our coach made it clear, but he valued it. I was on the team to be, you know, like a locker room guy. Like I had to be a culture guy because it certainly wasn't going to be performance.
Sure.
Had to have really good grades.
Yeah.
Do well in strength conditioning. Kind of do all those different things. And so I just loved it.
Yeah.
And then working at the University of Iowa, being a fundraiser at my alma mater, a place where I was a letter winner, just the types of relationships you build. You get to know people on just a really, really personal level. And then going to Purdue, Mike Babinski was our athletic director there, just announced his retirement. Really grateful to Mike for all the opportunities I had there. When I was there, the football program at Purdue has been a little up and down. But for my years there, Jeff Brown was the head football coach. He's now at the University of Louisville. Jeff did a remarkable job, just focused and development and execution. And he's one of the best coaches I've had the opportunity to be around, just like Kirk Ferentz at the University of Iowa. And then go to the University of Illinois, 5th most populated state in the country, flagship institution for that type of state. Josh Whitman, the AD there, have the highest degree of respect for Josh. But we were just able to really grow and elevate the program. And so somebody that's been a lifelong Midwesterner, I remember I told this to Josh when I first went to U of I said, I've always respected this institution, you know, as being a Big Tenner. I said, but I think it competed at a really high level. And I think our last couple of years there, winning bowl games, going to the Final Four, I think we probably did that.
Talk to me about, you know, the job has always been people entrusting their children to you. I mean, to your point, these are student athletes. You're now, there's an extra layer of, to some degree, financially supporting families. Some are look down on that or feel like the apocalypse is upon us, all right, based on sports. That is not the tenor you'll find on this show, certainly. But how do you balance the two things between having it be a business, and you keep saying people, and that's not lost on us, the balance between having it be a transactional business as well as being a caretaker of young people's lives?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think one of the real benefits of revenue sharing NIL, 18 and 19-year-olds get like real adult experience with high degrees of accountability at a young age. And you look at the GPA of our athletics program, so it's a 3.52, right? That's a great thing. So when people are like, well, student athletes...
better than any of us got.
Not collectively.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I can't guarantee that I pulled a third of that. I just want to make sure we're clear.
And our football program, 3.4. Men's basketball, Todd, they've always had a really high GPA in his whole tenure here. And I don't think that was maybe the case before Todd, from what I've heard. And so when the national media talk about, well, like, hey, they don't go to class and those types of things, fundamentally at the University of Toledo, that is not accurate. Our student athletes go to class. The amount of student athletes I've met here in my short time, they're going to pursue an MBA or graduate work is remarkable. And so there's certainly a balance to it, but I think it's a really good thing because they're coming to this institution, compete at a high level, getting a great degree. You can graduate from here and you can stay here. That's not always the case. And you look at some of the other communities in the MAC, they don't really have the market that we do. We have a very real market here. And so now they have the opportunity to be compensated. I think some of the things that people read about in the national media aren't always accurate.
Get out of town.
Weird.
I'm going to write that down.
And only in this subject matter. It's so weird.
Everything else, they are nailing it.
Yeah, exactly.
They focus on, and I don't blame them, right? Because there's truth to them, the 1% of 1%.
Yeah.
But for those student athletes, and I've been around a few, to where since they were probably 16 years old, as long as they stayed healthy and kept moving forward, they were always going to be a professional athlete. And so now in today's age, I do think they should benefit in revenue sharing. I absolutely think they should.
Agreed.
But what people probably don't talk about is, last thing I'd say, they get to come to an institution like this, get a scholarship, build relationships, get challenged, developed, and yeah, they're going to have a little bit of money in their pocket. And I think that's a good thing.
I think the accountability component of it is fascinating. It's always been, the big cat, Andy Katzenmoyer, his mom was famous for saying, I'm sure the Katzenmoyers are famous for saying many things, but that you pay a kid to go to Ohio State to play the tuba, my kid should be able to go and learn how to be a professional athlete, right? So the drop down from that, to your point, statistically speaking, most of your student athletes are not going to be professional athletes, but the managing of finances, having an understanding of accountability are transactional or applicable skills to anything they're walking out of the doors with when they turn their, go ahead.
Can you explain just a little bit of like what is the actual like financial landscape of athletics at Toledo? Because I mean we hear about the 6 and 7 figure checks written to student athletes in top tier Big Ten, SEC programs, but I know Toledo has a slightly different model. And I know that every sport has a slightly different model. So catch us up on what that looks like today.
Yeah, the three main buckets, and I think this is where the media is not always reporting on this correctly. The first main bucket, we talk about student athlete benefits and support, because that's where most of the conversation is, right? I don't think people are really interested in, hey, what's the operating travel budget for this sport, right? They're interested in NIL. The first main bucket is scholarships. We all understand how that works, and so we absolutely participate at that for all of our programs and do a really good job. The second bucket, which is new since July of 2025, is revenue sharing. So that came after the House settlement that worked its way through the courts for many years. And that's put athletics departments like ours, ones in the MAC, the Big Ten, the SEC, the ACC, where we can share a certain amount of revenue directly with our student athletes. And there's a cap on that number, which is currently $20.5 million. In the Mid-American Conference, nobody is at the cap. Nobody is. In the Big Ten, the SEC, they're all at the cap. And so what you're seeing at those types of schools, they want to share revenues beyond $20.5 million. So in the third bucket is that's third-party name, image, and likeness. There's a new clearinghouse, the College Sports Commission, a lot of headlines around the CSC. They're continuing to grow and evolve. From my seat and spending a lot of time in that area, I wish people would give them a little bit more grace.
You're no kidding.
Because we're not even a year into this. Said. And if anybody was expecting the biggest sea change in the history of college athletics would be perfect on day one, like they are kidding themselves. And so they continue to grow and evolve and change, and I really hope it works. But those are really our three primary buckets. For us, we're focused on all three, but from the student athlete benefits side, certainly scholarships is of the highest priority. And then a few of our sports participate in revenue sharing.
It's a really interesting and good level setting commentary. A gentleman named Byers created the first concept of student athletes, and that was in the 60s. So if you're looking at the amount of time that we fixed or crafted the student athlete concept, which again happened in the 1960s, this is new and moving quickly on top of technology, which of course is moving so rapidly that even high-level institutions have to change their curriculum out every 6 months. So the lack of grace you can spread across culturally, and that is one thing I will say.
As we sort of land this plane, thank you. What are the 3 years from now, 5 years from now, looking at the resume of the department, what are the goals that you want to have achieved as the director of athletics?
Yeah, great question. Probably a few things. I think without a doubt, our expectation is to be the premier program in this conference. Like, no doubt about it. And I think we can do it. I think we're on the verge of doing that. When you compare us to what's called the kind of group of six, I think we should be absolutely one of the very top schools in that. I think sometimes people always want to play the comparison game. We're focused on being the very best version of the University of Toledo. And when we do that, what makes us unique, the outcome of that is being the premier program in the MAC and being one of the premier programs of the group of six. And so when people talk about athletics departments that are performing at a really high level, like I said earlier, yeah, there's some bigger ones, but they're gonna point to UT like, hey, they're competing for a MAC football championship every year. Men's and women's basketball is competing to go to the NCAA tournament. Volleyball is doing their thing, competing for the NCAA tournament MAC championship, and want all of our 17 sports to be competing for a MAC championship year in and year out. I was talking to some people over the weekend, just catching up with friends, and they asked me the same question. I said, we can win a MAC championship in every single sport, every single year. And so that's the expectation. It's high, but I think that's very real here. To be specific, executing on what we call the Champions Complex. It's a new facility for our student athletes that has academics, nutrition, strength and conditioning. It'll impact all 17 of our sports, 400 student athletes. Really want to get that done. You asked in 3 years. I want to get that done in a year. And so we have a little bit of money left to raise for that, but I think we can probably get that done in the next few months.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And then I think probably the last thing is people, see the university with Dr. Holloway really going through a growth phase, that the athletics department is operating at a high level like I talked about, but is really benefiting the rest of the institution, is really being anchored in this community. So as they talk about the growth of the university, athletics department is playing a really significant role in that.
I don't know if you had the chance during the interview process to attend any games, but the fan experience at the University of Toledo is a very fun experience. Yeah. What is something from another place that you've been that you think would be great to have at one of the games or things here that you think Toledoans would love? Is there something like that that you'd like to add to the fan experience?
Yeah, having our students at our games. In men's and women's basketball, they transform the environment.
They do.
And so the last 2 Big Ten schools I've been at, really good basketball programs, and they make the home court advantage, they make it unbearable for the other team. And then on the football side as well, when I was at Illinois, we went from, 2,000 season tickets in football to when I left, 9,000.
Wow.
And so want our students at the games. I think it impacts their student experience.
Yep.
That's where they're going to build relationships, lifelong memories, right? That's where they're going to remember their experience for the whole institution, but they also create that home field advantage for our football program as well. And so
that's great.
I've gotten that feedback a little bit, and so all of our students can expect to see me a lot. They're going to see me on campus, but want our students at the games.
Good.
All right, Tom, buckle up. It's now time for
Gretchen's Wacky Quiz.
All right, let's do it.
Sorry for the name.
It's the 419.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you 4 rapid-fire questions. Gretchen can ask you to describe Toledo in 1 word, and you and Matt will list the 9 best things in Toledo, which 40 days in should be a piece of cake.
There we go.
All right. What is your idea of the perfect birthday?
Wow, perfect birthday. Probably spending time with my family, getting around and golfing.
All right.
Have you ever made a homemade gift for someone?
I've probably attempted and probably hasn't gone very well.
Sure.
Yeah.
What's your favorite video game to play?
Oh gosh, I was probably a EA Sports
100%.
person in the early 2000s. Been a long time since the video games have come out.
Yeah.
You're a little busy.
Yeah.
Do you believe in second chances?
Absolutely, no question. I think especially for what we do, sometimes, and not just student athletes, students make mistakes. They deserve a second chance.
Yep.
Absolutely. And so yeah, I think that's a great part of what I get to do.
What's the one word you would use to describe the city of Toledo?
Connected.
Okay.
And again, I've said it a lot for where I grew up, and that's why we love it here so much. People are connected here, but I'd also say for, again, being 40 days in, very welcoming.
Good.
Very, very
That's
welcoming.
good to hear.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to do 9 favorite
All right.
things. Let's do it, brother.
We're just going to list them off here.
Yeah.
So far, yep.
Great food,
Food, love it.
close proximity to an airport,
Airport Drive. Yep.
Inverness Golf Club,
All right, good for you.
Nice.
Toledo Country Club,
Love it. All right.
the schools,
Yes.
the 419 podcast.
Good for you. That's it. That's the show. Yep, great. This guy is the best.
Give a shout out to the wife and kids.
Hey,
Yeah.
he didn't say the Metro Parks yet. That
That's
was
okay.
I got to put the Metro
Yeah.
Parks on there.
Yeah.
I went to the watershed
I
event
know.
here.
Yeah.
I knew how you got on the guest list.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there.
Yeah.
The Metro Parks are remarkable.
Amazing.
They're remarkable.
Well, as a result of all the things you mentioned, we're remarkable. It's about community, and we're only good as a result of the people that we're able to work with. So,
Yeah.
And you're one of them, sir.
Appreciate
Glad
it.
to have you.
Thank you.
home opener for football.
Yeah, Central Connecticut State. Yeah. So home openers there. First game, Mike Jacobs' career. We're going up to East Lansing Friday night. Play Michigan State. So Pat Fitzgerald first game at Michigan State. Mike Jacobs' first game for the Rockets. Should be really exciting.
More information if you want to come out and enjoy the biggest party in Toledo.
Let's do it.
Fall home opener, utrockets.com. Tom Moreland, thank you so much for joining us. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by John Torres. You may know him more regularly by his social media handle, Restore the Block. We'll learn more about the great work he's doing on the other side of this break here on the 419.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at witroadvisors.com.
Destination Toledo. Whether you're a local or a visitor, Destination Toledo invites you to explore the region and be a tourist in Toledo. Find events, dining, and things to do at visittoledo.org.
WorkSpring. HR issues and employee well-being go hand in hand. WorkSpring supports employers through compliance, training, and wellness because healthy workplaces don't happen by accidents. Learn more at workspring.org.
Toledo Refining Company, a subsidiary of PDF Energy. Toledo Refining Company is a supplier of fuels that keep our region moving. Located in Oregon, Ohio, the refinery processes crude oil into gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and other petroleum products.
And TARTA, celebrating its 55th year of connecting Northwest Ohioans to their community. More information at tarta.com.
Welcome back into the 419. I was, cruising through Facebook, and some of my favorite social media channels are, SB Mowing, SB Pressure Washing, these folks online that use their channel to improve their community, beautify it, and then they record videos, and you get to watch these time lapses of how this all happens.
They're very intriguing.
And then I find one called Restore the Block, and I realize that that's happening here in Toledo. We're joined now by the man behind Restore the Block, John Torres. John, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
How did this get started?
Yeah, that's the same thing.
A lot of people ask me that question, and I don't really have.
It was an accident.
Like one specific. it really was.
Yeah.
Kind of. Just thought this would be a really cool idea. Let me try it. I'm not afraid to take chances. I'm not afraid of failure. So I was like, well, see what happens.
I mean, there's two really significant sides to what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is certainly a get your hands in the dirt and do the hard work and landscape and all of that.
Yep.
But then there's also a video production and marketing and social media side.
Yeah.
Did you have experience in both of those spaces when you started?
No, I only realized how to make a time-lapse video last June, I think it was.
All right.
I just started tinkering with it.
So are you out there like setting up? So for people that haven't seen these videos, it's the camera's moving around. There's several of them. There's national ones and there's and then John's. But they're setting up the camera as they're moving around the space, cleaning it up. So they usually do a pan of like the whole space and see if it's overgrown and trash and trees and everything, and then show them working in each particular area, pulling everything out, dragging everything out. It's you can't not watch it. It's very interesting. So you're doing all your own camera work?
Yeah.
And moving the camera around?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot.
I mean, to think about like that first time, right? I mean, was there a property that you cleaned up that you were like, hey, I'm going to put this on social media, and then you got back and realized, oh, I don't have any content to put out. Like, this isn't going to work. Or like maybe you just...
There's really not. Pretty much like every property that I've done, I've eventually made a video for it. Obviously, there are some parts that just don't make for good content, so those just get cut out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So how do you choose the locations? Like it's some of these other videos again that are in my algorithm and now probably will be forever. But like you see the person going up to the homeowner and saying, and it's usually an elderly person or and knocking on the door, someone that doesn't have the funds to take care of the property. Do you do that part as well? How do you come upon the places that you're going to...
Okay, so I started cleaning up abandoned properties because there's a great need for that.
Very.
As of recently, I've started including like residential lots. So people that live in these houses that, for whatever reasons, just can't keep their yard clean. Yes, last Friday, I stopped at a property that I'm going to be doing and spoke with the guy who owns that house, and a neighbor happened to come out next door and was like, hey, I need some yard work done. This guy stiffed me, never came back.
Yeah.
And I was looking for a property to do that day, but I had a limited amount of time because it was already like 10 a.m. And I looked at his and I was like, well, we can just do yours today.
Okay.
So I did
He was probably so excited.
Oh, yeah.
So how long does it generally take if it's one of those big, huge, overgrown trees and you got to have your trailer and everything out there? How long does it take you to film and do the work on one of those properties?
I mean, one of my best videos I did in like 5.5 hours, but that was a small front lot. But there are jobs that I've been on for like over, I think 13 or 14 days was my longest video,
Wow.
but that job's not even done yet.
When you talk about making good content, how do you know if it's good or not? What hits your criteria for?
Honestly, I'm probably not experienced enough to know if it is good or not.
I don't know. It sounds like you are. It sounds like you get it.
I mean, like lighting, if I'm recording.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you'll see a lot of the glare, you'll see a lot of the shadow, and it's just like, that's just not going to work.
Okay.
It seems like what I'm noticing is the good content is like clearing sidewalks, edging sidewalks, weed whacking, things like that.
So you can know a noticeable
You
difference.
can see it, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Go ahead.
So how did were you already doing landscaping type work before this? I mean, you have the trailer, you have your truck, you have all this equipment. How is it that you have all of this stuff?
I've just pretty much like always done labor type work my whole life. So, and I already had a trailer. That trailer was given to me.
Okay.
Sure.
So.
And how is the city cooperating with you? I know that there was maybe some initial consternation about what the stuff that you're removing needs to be taken somewhere. And, have you been given access to the dump? What's the status of
the partnership?
The partnership with the city.
Basically, right now, I just do everything on my own. There's no outside assistance other than like donations I receive from viewers. But like the actual work, I organize it, connect all the dots. I take the brush to the new recycling center the city just opened.
Great.
That's available to residents of Toledo for free. So I've been taking that there. The trash, I'll bag it up, and I have a designated lot where I put it out for bulk pickup. And Republic Services has done really well with picking those items up.
That's awesome.
So I make it happen.
How do you find the next location? Just driving around?
I might find it on my way home.
Yeah, sure.
Driving home today.
Yeah, right. Someone just calls out to you.
How often during the day do you wonder why people litter so much?
Not very often.
No?
Really.
Do you know why they do it?
I don't, but just like a lot of things, I think it's just something that's here to stay.
Yeah.
I think it's just something that you'll never fix, but we
find
can improve.
Do you find friends and family calling and saying, hey, come on over to my yard?
Just about every other day.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Talk to me about you launched the social media channel. What was the kind of early feedback to you doing this, and what has that grown to become?
So the first video I posted was a lot on the corner of Delaware and Detroit. It was an old tire shop from what I've learned. And I kind of just rushed the video and threw something up, and like overnight, it had 300 or something reactions, which was like far and above any amount of reactions I would ever get on my personal page.
Same here.
Sure.
I get like 3 or 4. And
Yeah.
So when I seen that, I was like, oh wow, I might be onto something. So I just kept doing it, and then I finished the lot. And by the end of that lot, I got an interview with ABC.
Sure.
And that's how I made the page.
Yeah.
She was like, can I come out and interview this morning? And I was like, well, yeah, but let me make a social media
Let me
page
make
so
a
I have
page first.
something to call.
Right.
The go-to, right?
Yeah.
And so is the goal to eventually get so many followers or likes or shares, or that you can make this revenue to support your work, or do you ask for donations to support the work that you're doing, or is this just totally volunteer work for you?
In the beginning, it was strictly, well, it is still voluntarily.
Yeah.
Do it on my own will. But I didn't make any money at all in the beginning. I tell people I make a few dollars now off Facebook monetization.
Okay.
Of course, my following isn't very huge in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
I don't have millions of followers.
Not yet.
So not taking it to the bank just yet.
Right.
But between the monetization that I do get and the donations from viewers, I'm able to keep doing it. And
Anytime you put anything out to the world, there's going to be naysayers and negative comments and feedback. And the old adage is, and the blade is now disabled comments, but they say never read the comments, right? I'm sure you had people coming at you early on with criticism. How do you deal with that? How did you work past that? And how did you kind of not let that shut you down?
I mean, I definitely used to check a lot of comments more in the beginning. Now I do see them. Like if I open up my phone and I open up my page, I'll see some comments, and if they're right there, I'll look into it, I'll read into it, and I mean, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
You know?
Talk to me about what you get out of this, and I don't mean financially, but I mean there has to be a feel good here, or else you wouldn't do it. What kind of keeps you going? We talked a little bit before we started the show that you're a morning person, so you're getting out of bed at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning sometimes to hit pavement or grass at 6. What motivates you? What puts wind in your sails?
At the end of the day, it's just being able to help, be of service to somebody that needs somebody to help, because the need is obviously overwhelming in these neighborhoods. So I guess that's what keeps me going. But just doing the work itself, it's like tremendous sense of purpose.
Sure.
You know, like people are waiting to see, you know, hey, is he going to show up to this lot and clean this up, or
what's the impact you think it has on the neighborhood when these lots that have long since been abandoned and not taken care of are cleaned up? What's the feedback that you're getting? You see people come out of their houses and come and talk to you. What are they telling you? I
mean, it's pretty much all positive. I vividly remember there was an older gentleman at a sidewalk I cleaned up over on, I think it was the Detroit and Delaware one, but like he came over when I was done. I've been there several days, and like he's just jumping up in the air and like kind of pumping his fist. And he was excited because it was like this whole lot was cleaned up, and that was a humongous
huge job.
Yeah, he's been looking at that for God knows how long.
Yeah.
Where does this all come from? I mean, I appreciate the fact that you're doing the work, and this is kind of your baby, but we're all sort of standing on other people's shoulders. Does this come from your folks, your immediate family? Where do you get this drive to be in service to others, or maybe it is just from you?
I don't want to spill all the beans this early.
Done. You got it.
Okay.
Well, we went out to here on the show. We'll just pretend like you're just a saint. I get it.
I mean, I've seen a couple of projects where you've had folks in the community come out and help. What are those opportunities that are continuing moving forward? If the folks are watching this and they're going, man, I love what he's doing. I can come out and I can, use a shovel or a rake, or I can do some weeding or whatever. Is that an opportunity?
I guess like the volunteer cleanup projects, I've had one. We had a dumpster provided. But as far as getting volunteers, I haven't had a whole lot of luck with that. This coming the 27th, Saturday, June 27th, I'm going to be working with Joe Cordova with Rock the Block. It's an annual event they have where they clean up a lot. There will be some volunteers that day. And as I continue this work, hopefully I can incorporate more volunteers and have projects where volunteers can come and do that sort of thing. But it's just right now it's kind of a whole lot, and it's a whole lot for me to kind of manage,
and then
like every aspect. Making sure I have the tools every morning. I mean,
how many properties are you doing in a month?
It varies. It varies because some days like I can go at it for 4 or 5 days that week. Some days I might only have like 2 days or even 1 day. But I mean, I'd say I'd probably averaged in a month. I've probably averaged 5 to 8 properties. I'd say.
And how long have you been doing this?
Last August, coming up on a year, August something.
And that's a real impact. What's the craziest thing that you found buried under a fallen tree or under tall grass?
Oh, the craziest thing.
I saw one about the cat that you had that was visiting you for a while on the porch.
There's lots of cats. There's lots of cats. But I found some really cool vintage dishware.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was like in a box or just in the grass?
It was actually just on the ground. There was several pieces, and I heard from neighbors that it might have been stolen from one of the houses years ago and just kind of like thrown there. And
What is the worst part of this? Meaning, like, is there
unloading a trailer by hand?
Okay, well,
I was going to say it's got to be your sore back. Maybe.
Ready for that? Okay.
Unloading a trailer by hand when you got vines and everything in there, and you got some thorns and
How do you see Toledo, right? I mean, it's you are
That's a great question.
Literally, as you're driving around, you're looking for, to some extent, the worst parts of Toledo.
Right.
I'm just curious, kind of your opinion of this area with that lens.
Toledo is, to me, just a normal city of any decent scale. I think there's a lot of potential. I think we are perfectly located, right close to Detroit, right up and down 75. I think it was greater at one point, but like all cities, nothing stays the same, and we just have to do the hard work to bring back its glory.
Well, you're definitely doing the hard work. It's certainly appreciated. I love watching your videos. If someone is learning about you for the first time, obviously they could go and like your page, Restore the Block on Facebook and Instagram, I'm assuming. But is there any other way that the community could support you if they wanted to help you do what you're doing?
Well, that's a good question. You don't have to necessarily help me per se. You take initiative in your own neighborhood. Go clean up some litter. 5 or 10 minutes a day with a bag, you can go pick up quite a bit of trash.
Yes, you can.
That's true.
So there's all kinds of ways to make an impact, even if it isn't directly.
Well said.
Yeah, thank you. John, so nice to meet you.
Absolutely.
John with Restore the Block, thank you for everything you're doing. We'll take a break. We'll be right back on the 419.
You laughed with us. You learned with us.
Hi, neighbor.
We made sure your childhood was special. Memories that could only be provided by PBS. For generations, we've given you programs that made a difference. Programs that entertained, informed, and inspired. And today is no different. This is WGTE Public Media in Toledo. It's where you belong.
Take WGTE with you, wherever, whenever, with the newly redesigned WGTE app. Watch our locally produced TV programming and your favorite PBS shows. Listen to FM 91 Live, stream our podcasts, and stay in touch with NPR News. Plus, get access to PBS Kids, great entertainment when you're on the go. All on demand in the palm of your hand. Download the WGTE app on the Apple App Store or Google Play today.
Welcome back into the 419 powered by WGTE as we wrap up a mystery guest edition.
Excellent get, Kevin.
Thank you.
Mr. Moreland seems like such a nice man.
Yeah, Tom is fantastic. I had a conversation with him, it may have been about a month ago, and he talked a little bit about it on the show, but just his perspective on our market versus the other Mid-American Conference schools, and the realization that, Buffalo is the only other big city in the Mid-American Conference. And the reality is they've got a ton of distractions where the university isn't a priority. And here in Toledo, our university is a priority. So there's a real opportunity there. I'm excited for his leadership. And of course, John, I've been trying to get John on the show since we started here on WGTE because he's doing great work and he's the epitome of what we want to highlight. People that are getting their hands dirty, making our community a better place.
Yeah, he does such hard work. Go follow his page, Restore the Block.
If you missed any part of the show, 7 a.m. on YouTube, 3 p.m. on FM 91, or 6 p.m. on WGT Connects channel 30.4. Thanks to our guests for being here, and thanks to you for joining us as well. It's the 419, powered by WGTE, and presented by Witro Wealth Management.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you.